Okay, we're here. Are we here?
We're here.
We're here. Hey, everybody, welcome to the end of the year, end of 2023. This is the very
Yes.
last day of 2020. I'm having trouble grasping this.
I know. Well, we do it every year.
Yeah, we do it every year, but it's like, okay, so obviously December 31st, 2023. This is the CC, what?
It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and it's obviously the CC and JT amateur hour where production values go to
Big time.
Yeah, go to die. And over there is CC,
Over there's JT.
and we have our coffee.
Nectar of the gods.
Yeah. So we made it through another year, folks. Isn't that something? We made it through another year.
Yep.
So this is what we usually call our wrap up because we've done something like we did a podcast like I think once every week this year. I think we got like 50
I think we made at least once a week. I don't
Yeah.
think we skipped any.
Yeah, I don't think we skipped any. We probably, if we'd prepared and done production values, we would have actually looked at the list.
No, I take that back. So when you did your road trip, you were gone for 2 weeks.
Oh, that's
we
right.
We skipped that week
We
in
skipped those.
between. So
Yeah,
we
we
did skip one.
Yep.
Did we skip? I think we also maybe skipped when we were in France.
Yep, that's
Because
obvious.
we were
yeah.
there over a weekend. So we did skip a couple.
We did skip a couple. And so that leads us right into some of the things that we did accomplish this week. And it starts off by saying that we did finally, hit that checkbox, that bucket list thing of France.
Yes. Paris.
Paris. We spent a few days in Paris. We got to see the outside of Notre Dame because inside still having some problems.
It was still surrounded by the construction wall and all the scaffolding.
Yeah.
This was before they put the spire back up, which I think they've done since we got back.
Yeah. So it's they're flipping it. Big time.
Well, 5 years ago, I think, was when they had that big fire, and it was definitely all hands on deck. I've seen some documentaries where they talk about the craftspeople that they've brought in to restore Notre Dame. They're trying to go back to as much of the original methods of construction that they did originally to make sure it looks as close to what it did before as possible. But hopefully maybe they'll make it a little safer, maybe with some newer materials in there. It won't be quite as flammable.
I'm sure. And then other things we saw the Arc de Triomphe by doing one of these things. Wow, that's big.
Oh, that was wild though, because we were, that was a hop on, hop off bus.
Right.
And we were, going along, oh, we're on the Champs-Élysées. This is so cool. We kept hearing about the Champs-Élysées, and now we're driving down it, and we're looking at all the people going in all the stores, and there's Dior or somebody, one of the buildings, big fashion house, has this incredible, art installation on it. So we're looking at that, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, there's the Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah.
In person. We've all seen it in photographs, and not everyone gets the chance to actually go experience it in person. It is impressive. That thing is massive.
It's massive.
In the center of a traffic circle that, Americans hate traffic circles.
If you're in Carson City, you really have no idea what a traffic circle really is. A European traffic circle is a whole different beast. We got, as she said, Cece said, we went along the Champs-Élysées. We walked along the Seine several times as we went back and forth. We went to museums. We saw artwork. We didn't see everything that we wanted to because of, circumstances. It is definitely on our list to go back.
Yes.
Because there are some things that we wish we could have seen, but just, didn't work out for some reason.
We saw the exterior of the Louvre. We never got to the part of the Louvre, the entryway with the pyramid.
Yeah.
We saw the Louvre is long.
Yeah, it's
a big long block or two
that's
long.
That's gonna be a couple days just by itself.
And then I believe the garden outside of the Louvre was the Tuileries. We did walk through the Tuileries a little bit. We did the Monet Museum, which was a bucket list item for you.
Yep.
Of
got
course,
to see Impression Sunrise, which is which started an entire craze of paint of artwork, Impressionism. So we got to see that. That was really awesome.
And we saw the Eiffel Tower, of course. We took the boat ride on the Seine, the bateau on the Seine. The Alexander III Bridge is gorgeous, which everybody was pointing out, but we did the loop around the Ile des Cîtes, where Notre Dame is in the Ile de Saint Louis, I believe. Where what's the other one? No, I think Saint Chapelle is up in Montmartre, but we got to see a lot of beautiful old buildings. A lot of we stayed in Le Marais, which is one of the oldest parts of Paris. Actually, it's more of the medieval area. So there were a lot of small, winding cobblestone streets and very similar looking buildings. We went to the Picasso Museum. We went to the what was it, Carnival, or there was Carnavalet, the Musée Carnavalet, which was Paris history, which that was incredible. The Victor Hugo Museum, as writers, we had to see Victor Hugo, and we went to Père Lachaise Cemetery where we saw Oscar Wilde's grave. So we, despite not accomplishing as much as we wanted to, we did manage to accomplish a lot.
Yep, and we did some writer things too, like she said. And Paris wasn't the only thing. It's funny how we took the loop to get there. We went there. We touched down in Dublin, which we've been to a couple times. We absolutely love Dublin. So we went San Francisco, Dublin, Paris, and then due to circumstances beyond our control, we did Paris, Montreal, San Francisco, and so it's just we did this grand loop thing, and that was a bit of fun too. So we Aer Lingus and then
Air Canada, and we
But-
did have to actually change planes. So we touched ground. We walked in Montreal, at least in the airport.
Yeah,
that was
don't really count it.
no, it doesn't.
Because
But it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Taking off again, seeing the view of Montreal from the plane. So I'd love to go back there someday too.
Yeah, that's also on our bucket list. The other trip related thing is I drove from Carson City to Delaware to see my sister, and I'm glad I got it out of my system because I've always wanted to do a cross country trip like that. But it sucked doing it by myself. It sucked doing it by myself. And like Cece said, it took a couple of weeks to get out there and come back. But it was 5,000 miles, more than 5,000 miles round trip between here and the East Coast and back. And I got to see some things, got to visit some old stuff like the place where you and I first lived, which doesn't exist anymore. That building is gone. But also got to see some points east that I'd never seen before. Ohio, Pennsylvania, as I said, Delaware, Maryland. Things like
Gettysburg.
that. Gettysburg. Got to spend some time at Gettysburg, which was incredibly fascinating. Gave me a book idea, which if I ever develop, it's going to be very, very interesting. I wrote down a bunch of notes. I wrote down a bunch of ideas. It's just I've got so many books in front of that, and so. But still, these are things that I hope that you and I can do. If you ever retire, but we could do together. We could take our time. We could just hit the road that direction
And meander.
Pardon me. Meander and see all these things that I got to see. And then I guess the other significant thing is I can't think of anything other significant other than we kickstarted 2 more books, which actually has been around for a while.
Right.
Sort of ephemeral, but we had a turning point. We had a tipping point, so to speak.
Yep.
We had a tipping point, and we'll give credit where credit is due. It's Atticus.
Yes.
Once CC discovered Atticus, and we bought it. $150, not for the faint of heart.
Well spent, though.
Well spent.
Yes.
But it goes along with our philosophy of spending $500 to earn $5, which is, what we're doing. Mm-hmm. But, getting Atticus and, formatting books allowed us to expand from Amazon, greatly expand from Amazon all over across 5 different platforms. Amazon, Apple, Google, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Mm-hmm. And so we are all over the place out there now. So, and we've set up our own little formal company, CEO, editor-in-chief, and then there's the CFO, CIO, CMO, and CSO. But we have roles, and so the editor-in-chief is going to be working on the audio book. From Tundra to Tiara, which we are going to post up on Google here relatively soon.
Yes.
We hope, as
That's for the rest of my weekend. Got a little hijacked yesterday by family, but the rest of my weekend, my 2 big plans are to finalize our studio downstairs so we can do our podcast tomorrow morning, and to do the audiobook editorial pass for From Tundra to Tiara.
Yep. So so we have our little company, 2 more books, which is, so cute. But it just...
But aren't we cute?
And, it's funny how I came up with that name. It's like I was doing the 1040, years ago. And they said, well, you got to put in a company name. Yeah. That's how it was born.
Yes.
That's how it was born.
I mean, I'm sure that's how a lot of great ideas are born, because a lot of companies are named after a person.
Yeah.
You think about places like Macy's.
Yeah.
I mean, iconic name, but it's named for a person who started the company. So that's how it happens.
And there's 2 of us and we do books.
Yep.
Woo, okay.
And I don't know about you, but we've kind of tossed around the idea of having our own bookstore at some point. So if we ever have a bookstore, maybe we can call it 2 More Books.
Yeah, we're also thinking of, getting one of those little stinking little trailers that you put behind it. And we're just throwing, not only our books, but a whole bunch of other books in there that we've accumulated over the years. So we have a lot of books. And also, go through used bookstores and pick up those books too. And then spray paint along the sign, books and free candy. And that'll...
He loves this idea of the free candy in the van, because anybody, especially I think if you grew up in the 60s and 70s, it was like, stay away from people in vans, and if they offer you free candy. So that's kind of his joke.
So we do have the car. We do have Herbie, which has the horsepower to pull something like that, as long as we don't make it too heavy. So we should be fine. But that kind of would be fun if we found out something on the cheap like that, and there's
farmers markets, maybe, or
then tear out the interior, throw in some bookshelves, and just throw in books and stuff like that. And of course, our books, but that'll be...
And then while we're sitting there waiting to sell our books, we can also be writing, because we can have our little Chromebook or laptop or whatever we're working on at the time, and just sit down, and so we could be like writing content to sell in our trailer.
Yep, and doing podcasts, of course, and taking pictures.
Of course, we can do podcasts, and people can wander by and say hi.
Yeah. So we had a relatively busy year, because it doesn't really sound like it right from the get-go, but actually once we started the work to expand across platforms, we had to start, officially bookkeeping, and we had to officially start doing spreadsheets, because before it was just sort of ephemeral. It was just sort of out there. But then
there's a book on Amazon. Go check it out.
Yeah, there's the book on Amazon. Go check it out. But we had to become very careful. We had to create documents with links and everything like that. We had to keep our website current, which is always a challenge.
And JT has been doing all the heavy lifting on this while I'm off at my day job. So.
Well, but let's talk about those roles again. Okay, so the CEO and the editor-in-chief is in charge of the company vision.
Right.
As is the chief financial officer, chief information officer, chief marketing officer, which, by the way, I'm getting rid of that one, and the chief strategic officer. I'm in charge of implementing that vision.
Yes.
As soon as she retires, she's becoming the CMO. So...
Well, actually, before I retire, I have some plans in that direction. So stay tuned tomorrow. There may be more personally from me on my specific platforms about what's coming in 2024. And hopefully more people will join in, and we'll see what happens. It might be fun if it works out. Even if it doesn't, it'll be something to do this year.
Yep, but definitely... So, like I said, we've got a little hierarchy. When we're really excited about this company, and we're hoping... we don't know when specifically Cece is going to retire from her day job, because there are things that have to be resolved before then. Retirement is a complicated decision. It's one of those significant life decisions, like graduating school, high school and college, getting married, having kids, and then
buying a house.
And then retiring. So these are all very significant mileposts, except for me. I just one day said I'm going to retire, and I just sort of left. But
yeah, it's been a little bit more complicated for me. But with that being said, I'm not thinking about this as retirement anymore. Mm-hmm. I will be leaving my day job in public service that I've been doing for many, many years now, and which JT also did for many years, and transitioning into full-time creative entrepreneur.
Yep. So we're going to be, full-time small business owners instead of right now. Right now we've got 1.1, 1.2, and we need to up that a little bit.
Yeah, so we're in the process of transitioning. Whether I get to this full-time anytime soon is yet to be seen. Hopefully, fingers crossed. will be sooner rather than later. But as JT said, it's a very complicated decision. There are a lot of things we need to work out financially to make sure that we don't mess with our quality of life that we've become comfortable with.
Yes.
So, anybody else who's thinking of making this leap in the next few years, definitely stay tuned. Maybe we can give each other ideas and be a support network, because this has been really stressful.
Yeah, it's a big leap, because it's a significant life change from, you wouldn't think so, but getting a check every 2 weeks is really cool. It's really regular. It's not as much as we want, but then again, it's never as much as we want. But then on the other hand, having that shift from doing 3 checks a month, because there's every 2 weeks, and then just going to 1 big check a month.
Well, it would be 2 checks, but on the same day.
And that's
unless our writing takes off, and then hopefully we will get a more steady stream of extra income. We're not looking to make as much as we did maybe doing our day jobs. What we're trying to do is supplement our pension.
Right. And so believe me, that thought keeps me writing. And I guess that's a good point to mention. Our personal projects. You heard that CC's personal projects is preparing the downstairs studio and doing the editor-chief thing on the audiobook from Tundra to Tiara. For me, I've been typing away at my 2 books. I've been taking days off here every once in a while. Like I took Christmas off for some reason. Madam Scrooge said it was okay for me to take, Christmas Day off. And I've been taking, days off for, illness, because, it just happens that way. But I've been very steadily averaging about 1,000 words a day across 2 books. And you may not think, well, 1,000 words a day is not that much, but you know what? I don't think so either. But I'm chopping down the tree, a little bit at a time. I'm chopping down the tree a little bit at a time, and 1,000 words is building up. And and also I'm not just doing the 2 books. And I should repeat that this is the 3rd Maggie book. Yep. This is the 3rd Maggie book. And this is the space epic, which is actually 3 books, but the first 2 books are done. It's the 3rd book that I'm working on. But as I've said in a previous podcast, I'm actually working on all 3, because if I have a good idea, I go back across the 3 and I go ahead and change it, which I did yesterday. I added a whole new dimension to the first book to order to set up the 3rd book. So that's been very convenient.
And to go back a few weeks, I don't know if maybe you can link the particular podcast that we did. You did talk about writing those 3 books in tandem versus writing a series that you hadn't planned to make a series in the first place, because it started out that the space epic was one massive book, one massive story, and then going back and making the decision to turn it into a trilogy. You've actually been able to work it out. So we do have a podcast on that where you go into more detail, and maybe if you want to go back and check it out, learn more about that process.
Yeah, it's and then the other thing that's occupied my time is is basically 2 more books. Is the social media aspect of it, the publishing. I've started the process of designing book covers for the existing books, so we can expand those and put those out on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So I'm putting in like 4 or 5 hours a day between writing and what I call the business aspect. And you may say, well, that's nothing, because I regularly work 9 hours a day. Folks, I'm retired. Give me a break.
No, you're not retired. You've become a creative entrepreneur.
Yeah, I've become a creative
entrepreneur.
I am, but I'm working at my pace, because,
that's the whole point of doing this type of thing. If you are in a creative field, you can be a little bit more flexible about your work hours. You probably still put in a lot more than you may have during your day job, because there can be a lot of downtime in between projects, moving back and forth to do things. And there are a lot of distractions actually in an office environment that you don't have when you're working solo at home all day. So those 4 and 5 hours could be doing as much as you did in the course of an 8-hour day at your day job. When you were in the office.
And you get my time cards, because I have to turn in a time card to the CEO. Whoopah.
Somebody loves spreadsheets.
So
and
anyway,
was going through withdrawal.
And that time, there's that creative time is important because this morning, and as I'm laying in bed, and I don't want to leave the nice warm bed to go outside, 25 degrees outside. But it's like, and it's like, oh, plot twist. I like that. I'm going to put that in the book. So these things happen. So being a creative entrepreneur, being an artist, because that's what writers do. Being an artist is not a downtime job because something's always grinding, especially since and I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying that from a production point of view, having two books just sort of floating out there all the time, the brain is usually churning on one or the other or both. So it's
and you've mentioned in doing the third Maggie book, which you're kind of about, that you still have, you kind of have Maggie 4 and 5 already plotted out too.
Maggie.
So I think you probably have something like 6 books going through your mind right now.
Yep. So got the 3 Maggie books, Maggie 3, 4, and 5. Got the 2 space epics and
the third part of the space epic.
Oh yeah. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's 6.
Yep.
And then there's the there's a couple of other ideas that I have sort of floating around too. So we thought maybe doing a writing manual, a very thin writing manual for how to write when you retire or when you're a retired creative entrepreneur. That kind of
and that's part of the thing, coming up as we are transitioning to leaving my day job. Maybe we can include that type of process in the lead up to what types of things you want to do to make sure you have some stability when you do take that leap and become a full-time creative entrepreneur. Because I have watched people, younger people, obviously they have different goals and outcomes. They're probably looking to be a lot more productive than maybe somebody in the retirement stage of life would be. And then, so thinking about this book, that the little thin guide to retirees creative entrepreneurship or something
like that.
We may do that in tandem in the coming year.
Just step it up there. And of course there's things that that we haven't even touched on, like we've been talking forever about doing a sequel from Tundra to Tiara, but we've just got so much in the pipe ahead of it that we've got it'll get there when we get there. And we're thinking about doing an extensive road trip. We're thinking about doing an extensive road. We're going to be probably doing at least one road trip down to the San Diego area.
Yes.
And then we're probably going to be doing, depending on things, maybe if not in 2024, but 2025 or 2026 or 2027, whenever CC retires.
Let's not go 27, okay? I'm looking 26 at the latest, but I'm hoping sooner.
But we're thinking of doing a road trip that will encompass small bookstores where we'll just swing by and say, hi there, can we just, we're going to be in your town on such a day. Can we just set up a quick table and just, and maybe, just, offer our books, So we have things going on, and so we're going to be busy. So these are things that we're looking forward to. That 2023 was the springboard for, and I shouldn't end a sentence like that because I'm a writer and I know better. But 2023 served as a springboard for these
events,
for these plans, and so we're looking forward to a little bit more fun.
Well, and so you retired in 22.
I retired last year. Yeah.
Yeah. So you retired in the fall of 22.
Right.
And initially, I know that was a difficult transition for you. The first few months. My suggestion was that you take at least 3 months off and not do anything.
Yeah.
Just relax, recuperate. And then kind of going into 2023, you really weren't sure what to do with yourself. You tried a little DoorDash for a while. It goes well in the beginning and then it kind of fades out.
Yeah, really.
Anybody who has to do that gig work, we feel for you because it's hard to maintain.
You have to, you work at DoorDash's schedule, which is fair because they're a boss. But it's, like you said, the algorithms just kicked me to the curb.
Yep.
And I didn't want to work, after 5 o'clock.
No.
So.
And so you were feeling kind of in limbo.
Yeah.
And then some things started to happen this year. And I think you found more of a sense of purpose than you had when you first retired. So I think 23 was a big year for you in that sense.
Yep. And 23 was a big year for you because it started to crystallize, especially, and again, it's funny how one little thing can flip a switch, but finding that Atticus software started, it opened doors to your future as well. And that made me sound like we're overselling it. And I guess I should also point out, we are not paid sponsors of Atticus.
No.
So
No, we just found something that works well for us. Other things, I know some people are very fond of InDesign. They love Adobe. Adobe, I used to like it. It has changed with especially similar to the Microsoft model where you have to do the cloud.
Way too many bells and whistles.
Oh,
too.
yes, definitely. And they keep moving different aspects around. So InDesign doesn't work for me, but I found that Atticus was pretty straightforward.
Right.
And it's worked out well for us so far. So if you are not an Adobe person and you're not using InDesign, or you're not trying to, God forbid, use Word to format your books, I don't recommend that.
Yeah.
Try Atticus.
Atticus, and between Atticus and Publisher, we've been able to put together some. We've been able to put together some book covers, and we're going to continue to do so. So 2023 was pretty cool. Yay. And we're sort of sorry to see it go, but we're also excited to talk about the next year. And we're going to talk, actually, we just did tomorrow's podcast, didn't we?
No, we didn't.
Oh, you have more things to talk about?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to go ahead and cut this short for us, and because that'll give us, time, something to talk about tomorrow on January 1st, 2024.
Wow.
But for now, you can keep track of our exciting lives and our exciting plans by going to our website at www.carsonhume.com. And, we've got all sorts of links to our social media. We got links to our books. We got links to our blog. And, of course, links to the podcast and our broadcast. So, please go ahead and check all that stuff out. And what am I forgetting here?
Well, if you're going out to celebrate this evening for New Year's, please be safe.
Be safe.
Please, if you do tend to drink a little bit to celebrate, have a designated driver or take an Uber, cab, whatever. So please be safe. We want you to be, if you're hungover tomorrow, that's one thing. But at least we want you to be safe on New Year's Day. And but we do hope you have a fun New Year's Eve. Do definitely celebrate with friends or family if you can. And I guess we'll see you next year.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, next year, whatever. Anyway, over there, Cece.
Over there's JT.
We hope that you have a wonderful day. We hope that you had a wonderful year. And really, there were some good spots for everybody in it. And we hope that 2024 works out for you, too. Until then, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.